A few days ago, I made a video outlining what I thought Palantir would need to show in their earnings report in order to satisfy investors. And suffice it to say, they really haven't done any of it based on this almost 18% drop in the last few days. So, first off, of course, yes, continued revenue growth is something you would want to see. Although that has definitely slowed down some, it's still double-digit revenue growth. So I wouldn't expect a pullback on that basis alone. But in spite of double-digit revenue growth and their extremely high, almost 80% gross margins, this did not translate into any gain in earnings per share or free cash flow per share compared to prior quarters. Why the heck is that? Well, the shares outstanding change, I think, is a big part of the problem. Okay? Share dilution is unfortunately occurring to this day, and a lot of it relates back to the share-based compensation. If you watched my previous video, I stated Palantir would need to see how share-based compensation had continued to decrease each quarter. And it got down to $114 million worth of share-based compensation in Q1 of this year. Well, it's still just over 140. I mean, it's down like a fraction of a percent, but it's not really. This downward trajectory on share-based compensation did not continue. So, unfortunately, that means that they are continuing to issue shares basically at this stable level, which means that to get anything on the bottom line on a per share basis, they need to grow their revenue by a greater amount than what they are now. So, unfortunately, if the shares are going up at a similar pace to the revenue going up, even with 80% gross margins, it's not really going to translate into much in earnings per share or free cash flow per share because you're splitting it amongst more and more shares, you see. So, that, I think, is the reason why Palantir did not drive up those bottom line numbers, is because they haven't been able to drive down this number in spite of still being able to continue to drive up the revenue number, which is why you can't just, base your entire investing thesis on revenue growth. At a certain point, people want earnings per share and free cash flow per share, and they want that to actually be there and be at a point where they can generate a reasonable return on their investment. And I'm actually a little bit surprised that the whole AI hope did not save them on this one, but a lot of other stocks have fallen in the last few days. So I think when it's when there's a lot of pessimism out there in the market, hopeful things like saying AI aren't necessarily going to do anything to bail you out when your financial situation isn't justifying your share price. Now, I'm in at a little over $6 a share, so I'm still winning massively on my Palantir shares. And I sold a covered call at the 18 strike a while back when it was still, heading upward, and collected a nice little bit of premium. Compared to my cost, that premium is probably, I guess I have to look back, but it's probably like an 8 or 9% return compared to what I paid for the shares. So, I mean, no matter what happens with the price at the moment in the short run, like, I'm still doing quite well on my position, but that's because I chose an entry point that I thought was cheap enough that it made sense based on some modest projections, where if Palantir executes like basically half as well as what people out there think it's going to do, I would get a reasonable return. Now, other people are assuming that they're going to go to the moon and back, and you can't make those kind of assumptions. Now, look at this. This, if anything, worries me. Cathie Wood, the head of ARK Invest, the ETF that charges expense ratios that are more similar to like a mutual fund, looks like she has opened a position in Palantir. And it looks like she's bought it through the ARK Innovation ETF, ticker ARKK. So if you're a Cathie Wood fanboy, I guess you better keep loving your Palantir. Or if you're a Palantir fanboy, I guess you better start loving Cathie Wood. I mean, I don't I don't know. Like, should I be worried now? Are they going to go to zero because Cathie got involved? I mean, she's almost as bad as Jim Cramer when it comes to that. So I don't necessarily feel good about her jumping in. But again, I'm in so much cheaper that it almost doesn't matter to me what happens here in the short to medium term. So that's where I'm at with Palantir right now. I hope that this helps explain to you why the price has kind of collapsed a bit since earnings, and what they failed to do and what I think they need to do going forward to actually move the needle in the positive direction. Like it and subscribe to the channel, of course, if you like my coverage of Palantir. I cover Palantir and a lot of other stocks that I personally hold in my portfolio, as well as some that I don't yet hold. And make sure you join the Discord, link in the description. Become a channel member. Trying to get to 10 channel members. I know. I'm at 6 out of 10. And when I get 10, my members are going to get to decide on one stock that I will have to purchase $1,000 worth of. So that's pretty exciting. So until next time, have a wonderful day. Cheers.